Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking something totally out of the box, a highly unconventional methodology for navigating the stock market using, believe it or not, financial astrology. We're going to look at how some traders are overlaying the ancient practice of tracking planetary movements right onto the chaotic, modern world of financial trading. It's wild, it's fascinating, and whether you're a total skeptic or a true believer, the actual mechanics of how this system works are genuinely intriguing to map out. To do this, we'll be breaking down the esoteric toolkit detailed in the manual Profit with the Planets. We're going to cover trading with the planets, a company's astrological chart, the financial meanings of planets, transits and planetary aspects, and finally, timeframes for trading. Let's get into it. Section 1, Trading with the Planets. Okay, so let's establish the core premise here. Mixing star charts with balance sheets sounds completely counterintuitive, right? But practitioners of this actually treat the planets as just another technical indicator. Now, right off the bat, it's absolutely crucial to note that the author explicitly states this is not some magic crystal ball. Instead, they view it almost like a form of confirmation bias used alongside standard chart analysis. It's meant to help a trader confirm a good risk-to-reward setup that they've already spotted on a normal stock chart. So, this explainer focuses purely on the precise mechanics laid out in this manual. It's designed for traders who want to treat planetary movements exactly like any other standard market indicator, like a moving average or trading volume. It essentially strips away all the overly complex, mystical math and hones in strictly on actionable timing signals. Section 2. A company's astrological chart. To actually use this toolkit, you first need a subject. And in the world of financial astrology, a company is treated exactly like a human being. It literally gets its own birth chart that dictates its fundamental nature. They call this the IPO, or first trade chart. It's a permanent birth chart cast for the exact time and location that a company first lists on a stock exchange. And here's the kicker. Once it's set, the placements on this chart never move, unless the company happens to go into suspension and relists under totally new circumstances. To put that into perspective, take a major company like Rio Tinto. It has its own permanent natal planet placements that act like the company's fixed planetary DNA. If you want to know how the market will treat a specific company, its first trade chart is your absolute non-negotiable starting point according to this methodology. Section 3. Financial meanings of planets. Now that we've got the fixed chart locked down, we need to understand the moving players on the board, the planets themselves. Every planet has its own unique symbol, but more importantly, it orbits the sun at its own distinct speed. And that speed dictates exactly how long its financial energy hangs around. A fast-moving body, like the moon, changes signs every few days. But something like Pluto, that takes over a decade, which ends up creating these massive, long-lasting, deep market cycles. Astrologers actually map these planets directly to specific industries. So, for example, the sun represents the lifeblood of a company, and it rules over gold and entertainment. Saturn, on the other hand, is highly restrictive. It governs hard work, karma, and the mining sector, often bringing downward price pressure. Then you have Neptune ruling anything underwater, like oil, along with biotech and pharma. The whole strategy hinges on matching a company's specific sector to its ruling planet. So if you're trading blue-chip stocks or nuclear power, you're tracking Pluto. Looking for luck and the highest possible prices? Jupiter is your go-to. Trading the tech market? Mercury is your guide. You basically have to know exactly which cosmic player controls your specific stock. Section 4. Transits and planetary aspects. But knowing the planets is really only half the battle. This brings us to a huge question. If a company's IPO chart never ever moves, what actually causes its stock price to fluctuate astrologically from day to day or month to month? The answer to that is transits. A transit happens when a moving planet currently orbiting the Earth crosses paths with those fixed natal planets permanently set in the company's original first trade chart. So you have an outer ring of moving planets constantly orbiting and interacting with the fixed inner ring of the company itself. But hold on, transits alone aren't the actual trigger. Just because a planet is moving doesn't mean it's causing a market event. It's all about the specific geometric distance between these moving outer planets and the fixed inner planets. Astrologers call this an aspect, and that's the real catalyst that makes things happen. In this system, there are 5 major aspects that act as cosmic triggers for market events. And these depend entirely on the exact degree of separation between the planets on the 360-degree zodiac wheel. So let's break down what these angles actually mean for a portfolio. Traders categorize these aspects strictly by their market influence. You have conjunctions at 0 degrees, which act like a cosmic power punch, intense energy that's usually very good. Trines at 120 degrees bring lup and harmonious price movements. But on the flip side, squares at 90 degrees act as high discord obstacles that block actions. And oppositions at 180 degrees, well, they're literally described as two planets in a deadly conflict, practically yelling at each other across the chart. Section 5. Timeframes for trading. So, how in the world does a trader take all this esoteric data, these planets, charts, and geometric angles, and actually apply it to a real-world trading timeframe? Well, the entire timing strategy relies on speed. Fast-moving planets dictate your short-term trades, while the heavy, slow-moving planets dictate your long-term holding strategies. You simply match the speed of the planet to the desired duration of your trade. For instance, day traders are going to look for quick shifts using bodies like the Moon and Venus. Swing traders will track Mercury to jump on fast news flows. But if you're a long-term investor, you ignore all that daily noise. Instead, you're tracking the slow, multi-year transits of the heavy hitters, planets like Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto, and Saturn. Now here is a really fascinating twist. The manual actually suggests that negative transits, like a restrictive Saturn square causing downward pressure, often provide the absolute best entry points. The strategy is to basically buy the dip during a negative transit, positioning yourself perfectly before a positive transit rolls around to push the price back up. And when it's finally time to sell, there is a very strict rule in this methodology. You want to exit the trade right before a planetary alignment's degrees match exactly. The thinking here is that financial markets are always forward-looking, meaning the market will usually price in the astrological move right before the absolute peak of the transit even hits. So, whether you view this esoteric toolkit as some cosmic truth reflecting the underlying geometry of the universe, or just a really fascinating psychological confirmation bias used to manage risk, it definitely leaves us with one provocative question. Could looking up at the stars really give you an edge down here on the trading floor? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the data.